So why don't we start the meeting off? I'll start it and going forward. Is that okay? We'll call a meeting to order for the special meeting for the Charter Revision Commission. And roll call, if you wouldn't mind going around the table.
Virginia San Pietro.
Yep.
Linda Strummins.
Dan Real.
June Gagney.
Trav Harmon.
And Kevin Cunningham, I'll record for tonight. Okay. So we'd like to start off with the election of officers. Is there anybody interested in being the chairperson for the meeting?
I'll do it.
So we go through the formal process. We have a nomination for the chair for the Charter Revision Commission.
I nominate Dan.
And we have a second.
I second that.
June seconds. Any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, all in favor say, of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Nominations are closed. All those in favor of having Dan as a chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstention? Hearing none, all in favor. All right, next office we need to do is a vice chair. Do you have any nominations for vice chair?
I'm gonna nominate June.
A nomination for June as vice chair. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I want to close nominations for vice chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we have a motion on the floor for June to be vice chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay. We'll need to do a secretary. We don't have any money, so there's no treasurer needed. So we have at this point, someone who can do the position for secretary. Any nominations from the committee?
Virginia.
Okay.
It's always the most
I'll
fun
second
position.
that. I know. I'll let you finish for tonight.
Okay.
All right.
You've been voluntold.
I'll be there.
Welcome to voluntary volunteers.
Okay.
Is there any other nominations for the secretarial position? Hearing none, close, vote to close the nominations. I'll say aye.
Aye.
All right. All those in favor of having Virginia as the secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Other than Virginia.
Oh,
Okay, thank you very much. So before I really get started, I want to say thank you all, because it is important to have volunteers and you guys have stepped to the plate. So thank you very much for that. What you have in front of you should be two things. You should have the agenda for tonight, and if you don't have it, we can pass this down, but you also have the, this is the anticipated. It's not the real dates, because I think one of them actually, Travis found out it was a Saturday.
What?
One of those dates was on there was a Saturday.
Yeah.
Did I give you the right stuff?
I don't.
Oh, you know what it was? Wait, it didn't stagger the print probably. So here's the one set right there.
Do we not pull
Okay,
it?
set here.
We can push the
Well,
button.
that's modern technology, you can do that now.
No, not me. All right, there's another set.
Okay.
And here's another set. One more? We all set. Any more? I asked you to pass them out.
I did, but I didn't take any.
All right, does everybody have a set now? And again, this is just the suggested dates. If you want to do me a favor, you can always review this, whether you use your phone. You want to vote on next week, that's our next meeting, that's fine.
Okay.
It's a matter of, what it was we pretty much use the same format over and over again when we come to a charter revision. It's by state statute, and certain things have to be done in certain time frames. But a day off here and there is not a problem whatsoever. We've already verified all of that. So, you can establish the next meeting by verifying and making sure that it looks okay, and then at the next meeting, set the rest of the dates. Or you can do the whole thing tonight, it's up to you.
I'm a man of getting things done. How about, I have got nowhere to go after this, I don't know. Does anyone else want to stay after, and, well, not stay
You wanna
after,
go
but
back
make
to
it a part of this and do the official dates? Do we have to do a procedure on that?
What do you mean?
You want to just stay and make sure all the dates are okay, is what you're saying?
pretty much.
Okay.
Are these all Tuesdays
Yes.
at 6:30?
It's up to you, the time, that's the other thing, the time
There's
is also
so many other
important.
meetings.
Yeah, I was,
Correct.
yeah, I was gonna propose maybe we do it like Thursdays or Friday, that way, you know, this.
I would do Fridays, I got Cub Scouts on Thursdays.
Yeah, not Friday.
Yeah, cause I just figured like all the other
Okay.
boards, commissions could,
I hear a not Friday over here.
Not Friday.
Not Friday.
Not Friday.
Yeah.
Thursdays.
Look at that, we got a calendar, what can we do?
So many meeting days.
Let's go one by one, how about that, see if there's anything you want to change with that. Next one was scheduled, would have been a public hearing called by the commission.
Next week, Tuesday.
No, the 127?
We're already in February.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
yep,
So tonight is the one, it's the special meeting agenda, appoint officers, approve the scheduled meetings. And then the next meeting must be 30 days after the schedule is filed, because we have to file the schedule, so yeah, it would be best if we did it all tonight. And then the board of selectmen can suggest amendments. The commission should schedule a public hearing right away before the substantial work be done, and be warned at least 10 days in advance, and discuss proposed amendments. There is at least 2 public hearings scheduled by the committee. So this commission has to, I would suggest to go through these dates and modify, first of all, a good day of the week, let's start there.
yeah.
What's a good day of the week?
Not Thursday, every
Not
other day is
Thursday.
fine.
We got a not Thursday, a not Friday,
It doesn't leave a lot.
Not
Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Hey, we got 60% of the week left.
We have narrowed it down.
How about Wednesday? What's Wednesday?
4 to 5.
I'll approve that.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be
Once
the
a
same
month.
week,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That
so.
5th week of each month is kind of vacant. Is there a
If
reason
they all
for that?
have a 50, do
Yeah.
they all have a
Yeah.
50?
We have 2 this month, we're already at 1. We have 2 in March. You've got 1 for April, 1 for May, and then the bulk of your work really comes into June. Because you have to go through certain things and procedures to get it into the hands of the electorate by November. That's why you'll have a public hearing, a regular meeting to complete your final, and you then submit the draft, and then the clerk is basically doing the rest of the work at that point for the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Selectmen does the meeting, and that final public hearing is in July with another Board of Selectmen. So you're not doing all of this, just some of the things that are being done.
Mhm. 3/7 is this Saturday.
That's why I said there was that one day you brought to my
Oh,
attention.
okay.
that One day was off.
Yeah,
Unless you really want to know what I'm saying.
Not really.
So you narrowed down, not a Friday, not a Thursday. Wednesday seems to be okay.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Well,
The time frame, the time of the day is also important because if it's too early in the day, some people can't make it because they're coming from work.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of figured Monday and Tuesday's probably really not good, because I would think we would want other boards and commission members to be able to go and not be
Yep.
stuck somewhere else.
Wednesday's competition for meetings right now is going to happen at 7 o'clock, and that's the planning and zoning.
That being said, have they put that in stone?
Theirs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been stone for many years.
We do have Democratic Town Committee meetings
Wednesdays?
on
Oh,
Wednesday.
those are on Wednesdays.
Yeah, not every Wednesday.
Well, the other big question is this, is that, is it improper to have 2 commissions at the same time running?
Well, on Mondays, we have ag, like last Monday, we had an ag commission, we had a conservation commission, we had a selectmen meeting, and we had an ethics committee.
So Wednesday is still on the grid.
Okay.
It's just we're not arguing
And
with
nobody
both of them.
from that commission
Right,
is on.
you can actually meet, because it's a public meeting, either eat down here or downstairs, so it's quieter, to do whatever you like.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, so Wednesday sound
Yeah.
good? What's a good time on Wednesday?
6:30.
You're able to get out of work,
Yeah.
no problems?
And which day of the week? I mean, which, week of
Wednesday.
the month?
Well, let's go through that now then. So if we look at the next one for the public hearing, on the calendar, would you like to maintain it as next Tuesday or next Wednesday? Up to you.
No, let's go back. We're still in February.
February 18th or 19th? Tuesday the 18th?
Oh, the 18th would be fine.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
The 19th?
Oh, we're going to
Yeah.
now, oh, now we have a Board of Finance at
Finance,
6:30.
6:30.
You can still keep the first one on Tuesday and then put everything else on
Correct.
Wednesdays.
I like that.
Okay.
It's in there when I asked for this.
Do we have to do a procedure to approve that?
Just put a check beside it for right now, and then you can do the whole thing in one shot.
And that would be at what time?
6:30?
6:30. That's good, okay.
All right, so let's move on to then
It's a
the
Tuesday.
3/7, which isn't 3/7. You don't want it on
Do you want a
Saturday.
4 or 11?
Up to the,
Now, where are you again? 3/7.
it was a Saturday, but we're looking now at either the 4th or the 11th. Get that, okay?
What time would that be?
Same thing, 6:30?
Boy, we have 6 o'clock meetings of the Democratic Town Committee
On both those days or just one?
on the 4th.
So let's try the 11th. We get the 11th on the calendar? Seems to be a little better?
No,
No.
worse. So I guess we'll have to.
We have the RTC that night too, I just won't go to that.
Yeah, but I, really
Yeah.
want to be at those meetings, so.
The other variable is this, the meetings start at 6, correct? And the DTC is usually done at 6:30, unless I'm
No,
hanging
it's at
out.
6.
Yeah, we can always approve it for a one-time special 7 PM.
But if it depends if it falls that way every month, then it wouldn't be. Which, let's see, what was April?
You still have the 28th of March and then April 21st.
28th of March.
21st is a Tuesday.
So it'll be 29th of March?
22nd or 29th?
28th is a Saturday
Of-
of March.
So that's also off, right?
28th of
You're right,
March
it would be
is a
the-
Saturday.
So 24th or 25th?
So that's.
Tuesday the 24th or 25th?
25th is good, that.
25th, all
I'll
right.
accept that.
25th,
So March 25th
Yep.
instead of the 28th,
That's Board of
Now, what about the
Finance.
3/7?
That was 3/11.
3/11,
Okay.
And that, did we pick that start time?
6:30 we were still
6:30.
going with?
6:30.
Did you say March 25th?
5th, right.
That's the Board of Finance meeting.
Special.
It's a special one, isn't it?
The March 25th, it just says Board of Finance, special meeting.
The 18th is regular.
Yeah, I think the March one is the start of their conversation with each department.
Do we need to be involved with that, though?
No,
No. All right. Does anyone need to be involved with that here?
Well, we would normally
I'll be
video
there.
it.
I will.
and I would be there, but I'm not gonna be
Okay.
with you
Do
guys.
this.
You'll be all
Are
set.
you involved with that? Yes, no? No? Does he need to borrow a camera?
No, I got
I'm a problem solver, just.
it. Traffic.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Yeah, you got 2, all right.
He's hooked up.
You just push the on and then hit record,
No,
right?
I'm good. No.
There you go, problem solver. Moving on. Okay, so do we need to talk about March 1st, March more, or are we?
So we have March 11th,
March
March 25th.
Yep.
Oh, we got that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at April.
We're doing 2 then.
Yes.
In March.
Correct.
March 11th. Okay, I might not be able to make it up. That's still at 7 o'clock?
Do we have alternates for this group?
No.
No.
So we got to drag Bill in if possible. Yeah.
And maybe 1 or 2 more.
Can Matt be an alternate if no one's on?
He doesn't want to,
He doesn't want to be on it at all?
there's other things going on.
So should we open it up for an emergency request?
I've already been calling people.
Oh, all right, remember, subject's been addressed.
Okay. So we're still on
Okay.
for
April
April the-
21, we're trying to figure out
April 21 is
That's a
actually
Tuesday.
22nd. April
So she is-
22nd.
Administrative Professionals Day.
And on that day, 6:30 still on, all
I
right?
approve. I have no issue.
Yeah, charter. Okay.
May 13th. It says the 19th there, it's actually the 19th or 20th, sorry.
You'll be the 20th, that one.
20th, okay.
20th?
Yep.
I'll do the 20th. That's relevant with them.
June 3rd, Wednesday, public hearing.
No issue with that. Talking for myself, does anyone else have a problem with that?
What time is that?
Same thing.
7?
I thought it was
6:30.
6:30,
Sorry.
right?
Yep.
Oh, it's going right in all of our Democratic.
And the next one would be 6:10.
Well, there's 2 dates, if you notice, 3 in a row.
Oh, yeah, what, yeah.
6:10, 6:11, 6:12.
6:10,
That's how they would end up.
6:2 became 6:3,
The
right?
6:12 submitting to the clerk would actually be the 15th.
So those three would be 10, 11, 12 instead of.
No, it would be 10, 11, and 15 because there's a Friday there for the town clerk.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
11.
Now, as town clerk, do we have to have a meeting for this, or is it just procedure?
The town clerk basically submits it back to the board of selectmen that Monday.
Okay, so on the 10th is actually the 9th, which is a regular commission meeting. That's literally the only real time that we get together. Bill!
Ah, Commissioner Bill.
6:30 or 7?
6:30, sir.
6:30.
Yep.
My bad, my apologies. I thought it
Do
was
we have
7.
to, do we have to
You're
introduce
using
him
the
now?
secretary, did you tell him that?
No, so who's the procedure? Congratulations, you're everything now.
Yeah, that's good. I'm good. Sorry. I apologize for being late. I'm
Before we
usually out of
finish this,
time.
we're gonna go over the calendar, and we'll make sure you cross-reference everything.
And then we'll have
Doing Wednesday,
the
6th.
revised.
For Vesper
Right.
Bridge.
Yep.
It's like a small fault.
Yeah.
Do we have an additional calendar?
Again, my
Oh, you're
apologies
ahead
for
of us.
being prompt and on time.
15th, this is the clerk.
So basically, you're deciding because
Okay.
Fridays and Thursdays are back to the majority of
Oh,
us. Tuesdays
do
are
we-
one, and then
we don't-
Fridays
We
are
don't
one.
need.
We don't necessarily.
You don't have to-
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Whatever day you
All
pick.
right.
Yeah.
Just submit it to the board.
So basically, every
Yeah.
day, 6:30,
Okay.
except for very special events on which we haven't even gotten to yet. And so basically, 6:11, because it's a bump. We don't meet, these are just paperwork, but 6:10, which is the thing, and we haven't gotten to July.
Okay, there's gonna be a schedule anyway. It's gonna
Correct,
be-
yeah.
you know,
We still have to
we're
vote
not
for
getting
this.
nailed down, so.
We're writing it up now, we're voting on it at the end, so everybody understands. I'll give you a copy so you can just jot it down.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine. Yep. Whatever it's gonna be.
So if you take a look at the second page, it says 6:10, it will be saying 6:10, 6:11, and 6:15. And that'll be for the regular commission meeting, submitting the draft to the clerk, and the clerk's going to give it to the board of selectmen. On 6/22 is the board of selectmen meeting scheduled for, and it's the same day, so you don't have to worry about that part.
Do we have to appear for that?
Reading through it to discuss town report, schedule a public hearing, unless you have to have the chair there to say, this is your found, that's all.
It's basic procedure and documentation submitted. Okay.
This next one is July 8th, which is Wednesday, public hearing. That will be 6:30 PM.
So we do Wednesday, 8. So it is the July 9th?
8th, I think.
8.
8th.
How did that happen?
Perfect.
Why does it say 9 on here if we think about Tuesday?
It was all wrong dates, so
They're
we're
all
fixing them all
wrong.
right now. It's okay. We'll catch you up.
And we'll get.
I just look at errors and I'm like, how are we doing on a Saturdays and
No.
Thursdays?
All right. The next one on the list is 7:20, and I'm gonna have a special board of select meeting just for this one item.
And I'm gonna be on vacation, I've already booked the cottage and everything, so I can't, and paid for it, so I can't
If you
change it.
don't tell everybody where you're going, because they'll probably follow you, so.
Okay.
Well, that being said,
Track you down.
if, just like in the previous one, is it only the chair of this committee that needs to be present, not the individuals?
Correct.
Okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
that's fine. The final one there would be the 8th, which is the August 10th. And that is final comment, final amendments to be approved by the board of selectmen of this date. So that's really the board of selectmen meeting, so you don't have to worry about that either.
And that's on the 10th.
That's a regular meeting for
I
the board of
thought we had
selectmen.
for the select meeting.
So we actually have 7 effective real dates.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so this board and committee basically is, a lot of work is done right at the very beginning, talking about the things that you think are important. Then you'll be listening to the public and have their input of what they think. The board of selectmen has a list for you as well. but we'll have a list for you, and we'll talk about the things that we have concerns with. More than likely, you're gonna find that there's a lot of people who have similar concerns or wanna go one way or the other. And you're gonna find that no matter what. People are very, that's why you're here. You wanted to make some of the changes and establish some changes in the charter because you saw something that it was worthwhile for you to be here. So the schedule of the meetings is what I want to verify right now, and I will read it out to you. We have a list in your hand. And these are mostly going to be Wednesdays at 6:30. So let's start off with tonight's meeting, obviously 2:11, 6:30, we're there. Public hearing called by the commission. Do you have a date for that?
We approved 218,
Okay, at 6:30?
special one because I think, what is that, on Tuesday still?
Yeah, because we're talking about different board,
Correct.
other committees that
Yeah.
have to be there.
Conflict, yeah. Then we go into regular schedule.
Regular schedule on 3/11, regular commission meeting to discuss Board of Selectmen recommendations, the comments from public hearing, and beginning preparing the draft report. So we as a Board of Selectmen will give you a list of things that we think are important. Your public hearing on the 18th will also include a lot of different things that people might want to say, and that's when you're going to draft up with your first draft review on the 11th.
Okay, and then the next.
Next one is 3/25, regular commission meeting to continue preparing the draft reports.
Okay,
I can tell you right now, you will not come to consensus, and everybody's always going to be, one or two people might feel one way, and then the other people might feel the other. That's okay. It's good to have that difference of opinion so you can hear different viewpoints. You're going to hear that from the public, you're going to hear it from selectmen. That's okay. So that commission meeting is going to continue on.
You know,
the 25th.
you say that, but our job will be to decipher what we feel is right,
As a full
and it's
board.
gonna work for the public
Yep.
and work for the Board of Selectmen as a whole.
Right,
That's the bottom line.
that's the bottom line.
And there's a lot of things that are not, they're okay, they just need retuning and
Yep.
finding inside and out.
I mean, there's another point to this, I'll get to that in a second, but let's go finish this off. 4/22, regular commission meeting to continue preparing the draft. That's, again, regular commission meeting on 5/20. Final changes and prepare the final draft. 6/3, public hearing number 2, called by the commission after draft report is completed, but before the draft is submitted to the town clerk. 6/10, your regular commission meeting, you complete the final draft. The next day, you submit the draft to the town clerk. The following, it's supposed to be the following day, but in this case, it's wraps around a weekend. So the town clerk then submits to the Board of Selectmen. And on the 22nd, the Board of Selectmen then meet to discuss the final report. We schedule the final public hearing, because you guys do the first 2 public hearings, we do the final one. And no later than 45 days after the submission of the draft report to the town clerk, try to get it done right away. 7/8, public hearing number 1, which is from us, scheduled by the Board of Selectmen. And on the 20th, we hold a special Board of Selectmen meeting to approve or reject the proposed amendments. And then on the 8/10, the final amendments must be approved by the Board of Selectmen. And there's a reason why for that date, because you have to have a certain number of days prior to the November national election, so you can put it onto the ballot. Okay?
okay.
Does everybody agree with that, or is there changes that you want to make?
I have no problem with the schedule. The question is this: what if we have a different of significant opinion between the board and the selectmen?
Plead your case, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, plead your case.
Gonna have to work it out.
By the way, the selectmen will probably be at these meetings, so they want to hear what's being said. And like I said before, you're gonna hear, I'll probably say something, you'll go, that guy's way off. That's okay. Because don't forget, there's also 3 selectmen, and the 3 selectmen will vote on, based on the input from everybody.
Yeah, actually, I just had a few housekeeping items. One, is it possible for us to get like just an email address for public suggestions?
Yep.
You know, because I think
The
that
email
would be,
distribution group would be fantastic.
Okay, just before you do that, can we finish the calendar?
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, and that kind of was related to the second thing, like,
Sure.
because I know this is just my idea, I'm spitballing, I can't speak for everybody. But I was kind of conceptualizing, maybe it'd be good to have 2 public hearings, you know, before we start hammering things together, just to make sure we capture all those ideas.
Can we also tie it into the promotion on the social media pages? So everyone complains, I've never been notified, but no matter how many times we notify people, they complain.
Yeah.
Answer to your first question, there are 2 public hearings called by your commission. You'll see on date number, the date next week is the first public hearing.
Well, I guess to clarify that, I mean, before we start even preparing a draft,
Mm-hmm.
you like, just to,
What are some of the ideas of the town and miscellaneous?
But when
Right.
would that be, the 18th, 2/18? Because that's,
That's the first public.
yeah, that's the
hearing.
first one.
That's
For input,
so
for,
we
yeah.
can get input from people.
And then the next meeting, you're actually starting the draft.
Right.
Drafts are just drafts, you can modify them
Or
as
can
much as
change-
you
yeah,
want.
Right, it's a draft. Right.
Yeah.
Right, and we can probably have like the draft available on the town website, like as we go,
That's
so
no problem.
people can.
That's no problem. Don't forget, when you have your meeting and your secretary records it, it gets posted to the town website as well, so we can point them to that.
Yes, I know another thing, actually, I'll let you continue, I think this is kind of an afterthought, but, you know.
So, let's go through it. Does anybody have any problem with the dates that were read and the times? So we probably this time entertain a motion to accept those dates and times.
Entertain?
The other scheduled meetings, we have a motion by Trav with the adjusted
Yeah, please do.
date and time.
We do the third?
We have a second?
I will.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye to the
Aye.
established scheduled meeting dates.
Aye.
Any voting against? Any abstains? Hearing none, good. Really, I turn it over now to the chairperson because now it's public comment.
All right, is there any public,
Here.
Should we go ask someone just to make that clear? Okay.
go ahead.
All right,
None.
this is not from the Board of Selectmen, this is from me. And these are just suggestions to look at, that's all it is, okay?
Good.
So why don't I pass these out to everyone?
Wow, look at that, I've already highlighted that section.
Enter these in the record.
He's doing the.
Oh,
first phase.
yeah, you have to do the first phase.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'll go through, if you have a copy of you have a charter in hand?
I've got it kind of memorized, so.
Okay. Section 2.3, the annual meeting, review the date, because we've already had this issue.
Oh,
Yeah.
It continues to bite us all the time. If you remember the last time the Town Charter Revision Commission met, one of the questions was posed to our Kelly, and it was like, well, when do you actually get the final audit done? And she goes, sometimes it's not done until February. I thought someone would have picked up on it then, saying, maybe we should move it out further. So I would suggest if you would mind thinking about that, because it's one of the things that we're having a problem with every year,
Yeah.
getting the audit done, so something to consider.
Good question on that, what date did you have in mind?
If she said February sometimes, I would say right at February. And therefore, if you're making an adjustment so that whatever happened this year happens this year, that's,
Yeah.
but if it happens something like that again, we can make an adjustment, a small adjustment versus should in November.
I'm commandeering this on behalf of the board.
So instead of November, you're moving into a February timeframe, it makes it much easier to say, well, look, it's not done yet, it needs 1 month. Versus right now, you're waiting
Yeah.
November, December, January, February, she should get it done in March, so we hopefully get either March or April for that time meeting. So just a
Yeah,
suggestion
no,
to consider.
it seems like a very good one. So you have additional ones.
Section 2.4, the annual town budget referendum to town meeting. So it says review the noon to 8 PM voting structure. That's the town referendum. It kind of narrows that window for voters to noon start time. I would just suggest you consider looking at opening up a little further, might help. And the other one was kind of an important one to me would be modify the percentage of voter turnout from 25 to something smaller.
Which one was that one?
That is on the
2-4?
second bullet. Yeah, 2-4. You see the highlighted percentages right there.
somebody got the numbers through the years, what the voter turnout's been for these.
I can get that for you for the next meeting.
That would be pretty helpful to have. I got an idea in my head what it is, but we couldn't go that low. You gotta find it happy in between.
Yep.
because you just can't keep doing it. I mean, it's like, no matter what you tell people, the apathy is there. And I don't care how many times you publish it, how many times you put it on Facebook, how many times you go in and out. People will not go unless it's important to them. And I've seen
Right,
this
but-
time and time again to where you can change the numbers and make them anything you want. You could go 15%, and then all of a sudden you'll have a problem at 15%. So that's why it's gonna be a difficult choice.
Voter
to make
apathy,
on that,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right, just to expedite me, because going forward, one thing I do want to do with this commission is like just go through each member for, their additional input in each meeting. But just to expedite, I want to, have Kevin have a chance to present.
These are mine, not the board's, I didn't discuss this, it was just some things I've, over the years, have seen.
Yeah, no. So your next one implicates 2-4D.
Yep. Do we need to include the passage of 5-year capital? So for what reason? Because technically, at this point, we're voting on two things for money. The 5-year capital doesn't do anything for us except to give us that wish list of what we want to use it for later on. It's up to you, but I'm just saying that either we tie it in for monetary reasons, or you have to give some explanation as to why you're really voting for it. Because really, you go to the voting booth, there's three things there. Why are you making it? So in other words, if it fails, what does it say in the charter? Nothing. If it fails, you don't do anything anyway.
Well, it kind
Well,
of lets you know.
I
that
just,
people are
guys, I
ready.
just want to, because I do want to go to each individual member, like, after the public comment section, just to kind of expedite it.
Yep.
Well, the question is, what would you like to see?
Either one or the other. Either one or the other. You can tie it in saying it's monetary and it has to pass, which my preference would be no. Don't just take it out altogether, really, because it really has no place in the vote.
Yeah.
Or would you like to see a reduction of the timeline?
The 5-year capital?
I mean, so to a 3-year or 2-year? no?
Doesn't matter what you put it at. It's still a matter of what does it mean? What does it equate to?
A vision.
Yeah.
Right,
That's all. It's
right.
a vision, then it doesn't need to be passed by a vote.
Well,
Right.
true, yeah.
So, going forward, your next one implicates 2-5B.
Yep. Okay. So if you take a look at the numbers on 2.5B, they've been in there for many years.
But they did not equate to any kind of inflation.
Right.
So we're dealing with, when this was written, was what, 2006, 2005?
Well, originally, we're 84.
1984.
Anyway, so basically would be today's numbers, the first digit, it's funny, I highlighted it because Citizen Cunningham, that's exactly one of the things that I was looking at. So the $10,000 would equate to about $25,000 in today's money. $50,000 would be about $75,000 to $90,000, give or take. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that because that's exactly what was on my agenda.
All right. So that gives them some idea of why I was bringing it up,
Right,
because it is
right.
equated. The next one would be for 27F. Take a look at 27F. Simple.
So it's eliminating paperwork is what I'm hearing.
Five-year capital plan. Again, right back to if you want it or not, that's all.
Okay.
But it's kind of funny because sometimes you'll find in the charter that there's things mentioned in multiple places. So you gotta be careful when you do finally do the final upgrade.
Yeah, because you'll change the referential index, so.
Exactly. Yep. Chapter 4, if you take a look, all those boards right now are even. And the other problem we have with a lot of the boards is people resign prior to the 6 years commitment. So I just want you to consider those two things on there.
3 of them, it could be 4 years.
Yep.
This is 6.
If I took a look at chapter 4,
Life moves on.
6 members, 6 years for Board of Finance. The alternates has 6 years as well. Board of Education, 6 years. The Planning and Zoning, 6 years. Planning and Zoning alternates, 6 years.
It's a long time.
Zoning Board of Appeals, 6 years. Zoning Board of Appeal alternate, 6 years. If you look back in history, you'll probably find that not everybody stays. You might find 2 or 3 people that actually stay all a long, long time, but that's it.
yeah, it's pretty far.
Should we keep it even or odd? So 3 years?
It's up to you.
Never.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Years? Oh.
Obviously,
That's something I can
we'll
discuss.
hash all this out, but I just want to make sure we, get through these, and then I do
Yeah.
want to go around, to ask each member. So your next one is chapter 7.
Absolutely. Chapter 7, is, write the right one down, chapter 7.
Boards and committees.
Oh, yeah, if you take a look on chapter 7, page 11 on the top, it says, there's a building code, Board of Appeals. Let's verify if we need it to begin with.
What is that?
Do we have it?
Do we have that?
Technically, no. we
No,
don't.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have no board, but it's in the paperwork.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we don't have the board, then just eliminate it.
So I would check first with our building inspectors to
Right.
verify if we have to have it or not. And then I would
And
pose
do
it to
we
you.
need it?
And do we-
State or legal? State and legal, right?
Yeah. So civil preparedness is the next one, and that obviously hasn't been around for a while. However, I just started up something with a discussion with for fire marshal, fire chiefs, and police as well to talk about, and EMS, to talk about what we could do to bring that back. But if we don't bring it back, then we don't need it.
So if we were to bring it back, then what would be needed to bring it back?
Well, we'd have to get a better definition here, because the representative from each fire district, there's your 4 chiefs, and then we'd have to appoint them for 4 years. They're already chiefs, and they changed more than this.
So instead of being appointed, can we just say current representative?
That's up to you to figure out.
All right, that'll work.
The other one is, I hate to say this, but I would say ethics. Ethics Commission on a local level, while it serves a purpose, it doesn't serve, in my opinion.
That's 7G.
7-2?
Yeah. Years ago, there was an issue that the town held, and I think, Dan, you know this very well, we spent almost $50,000.
Oh, yeah. It was a heroic sum of money to,
Yeah.
you know, eventually, just some background, guys. Eventually, the Ethics Commission gave us an opinion that ended up helping our case against, it was a quo warranto suit. It should have never spiraled out of control. But, yeah, it's a staggering sum of money.
So to the bottom line was, I did keep track of it, was 49 and a half.
1,000?
Yes.
Okay, so in their own bylaws, it says they can't expend more than what they own, what they have been given to them in the budget. They were given $500 for a secretary, but they expended $49,500. I filed a complaint against the ethics board saying, well, you know, we finally.
95 times?
So anyways,
No, is that 50? That's not 500.
let me get back to the.
Right.
Let me get back to the reasoning. The reasoning is, my concern is that what's the bottom line for the Ethics Commission? What can it actually tell you to do? Most of it is, don't do that again. Or it's a $100 fine. It used to be a $100 fine years ago. Why are we doing this? There's a state board of ethics, and we can actually call them when an issue occurs and ask them to hear it. Now, the state has 5 members from all over the state. They come in to hear your complaints, and that's it. There is a little bit of monetary behind it, because they can actually fine you up to $1,000. That's all. So my consideration would be, either we tighten up what we have in our rules, or we get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because really, it's difficult.
Is it required legally?
No,
Is it going to have any
We
legal
don't have to
opinion?
solve it
No.
tonight.
I mean, except that you hired the.
So it's literally a feel-good law.
Exactly.
I may have gone to public high school, but 99, a factor of 99, it exceeded its budget.
I
For
think,
an opinion.
Well.
yep, I think we'll have a chance to torture this idea plenty, but it seems like something that, you know.
If you consider it, I would appreciate it.
Right. I think we certainly will. So your final one is section 10-5.
Right, so 10.5 is, again, back to the other issue of, we're talking about the capital improvement program. So either there's some literature in here that should tie it back in, saying it's needed because of a vote, or not. But it tells you what a capital plan is, at least it does that.
Okay, do you have any additional areas to consider?
Not at this time.
All right, public comment continues. Is there any additional public comment? Going once, going twice, sold. All right, so I think at this time I
Do we
want to get,
close public opinion?
well, if there's no other public comment, I do want to go around to ask each individual member of the commission for their suggestions and concepts. So since we went to Kevin, we'll go to Virginia.
I really don't have to look at it.
Any suggestions?
I mean, I read it, but.
We Okay, going around, Trave? Trav,
Yes.
Trav, Trave.
Sorry, call me Sally, just pay me enough. All right. Anyways, point is, yeah, Citizen Cunningham with his suggestions are in there. I don't know when the selectman, his opinion comes into this, but the highlighted sections I agree with. Section 2-3, review dates, yes, I agree they should be somewhat flexible to do things, they just change. Referendum changing from 25% to something, a majority on site, whatever, I agree with that too. Passage 5, 2-4 unknown, 2.5B, increase the number of non-budgeted appropriations, I agree with that. Keep or delete, I will agree with that as well. All boards, odd membership numbers, I extremely agree with that, with reduction of the number of terms. 7, 7.2, 10.5, I'll have to review. Ethics Committee, just on its face value, yes. But I do have, my big driver right there is changing of the eminent domain and adding a subsection for business classification density studies. Is a certain type of business too much for the type of town we're in, which is sub-subject of the Dollar Generals, auto parts stores, of some miscellaneous. Are we going to do low-priced auto parts, or what is the scenario? So those are my two driving factors. Beyond that, I have no other issues until I review 7 to 10 and the commission, but those are my two reasons why I'm here. Is that
Tell them again.
one, eminent domain modification. As you can see, the Secretary Real may agree with me in essence anyways, but the other one is adding a business classification density restriction. Too many of what type of business? As much as I would love low cost.
So you're looking to restrict the amount of Dollar Generals, the different types of services that are gonna be provided within the town. So you're telling me you don't wanna see an Advance Auto, O'Reilly's, and a Napa all in a generalized area. Is that what you're saying?
No and yes, meaning I would like to have the people saying if it hits a certain trigger point, should the citizens override this committee and say yes? That's
I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm a local business guy and I own property and the town's telling me what I can put on my property, if it's zoned commercial and I wanna sell it to Dollar General to put something there, and they're coming in with the right price, there's no way on God's
And
green
they're gonna
earth
pay taxes.
am I gonna tell,
That's
am I
right.
gonna go, okay, because the next thing I'm gonna go is I'll challenge your ruling.
That's correct.
I'm just saying at a business level, I would challenge that ruling.
And there has been a demand from the people.
And
to
do
see
you
something.
have a proposed
And
draft?
the reason what you're
Yes.
going off of
Yes.
is the Dollar Generals.
Yes.
And I get the Dollar General concept, but America, as rural America goes now, this is what we've become. The Walmarts, the Dollar Generals, and all these dollar stores, it's throughout America. I understand that. That's a rough road for me to hoe.
Right, and I think we'll get into the merits of these, I'm just trying to
But
get like
I am very
Yeah.
open to anything, but you will hear from me. And I will
Right,
be
right,
very-
Bill, and we will get into
very
that, but
objective.
what I wanna do here is just get like an
That
inventory
gives
of
me
what we're
something
playing
to
with.
think about, because then I can look into it. So.
Yeah.
Right, so do you have any other suggestions?
Primarily eminent domain.
Primarily on the domain?
Eminent domain, we are being far too kind.
Okay,
We are being far too kind. The town has a lot of empty property that, as a businessman myself, I see driving by, I'm like, there should be something that should be used.
And I'll get on that one with you, just for a little bit.
That's
okay, yeah,
fine.
but Bill, we
We'll
I wanna know
discuss
the
that at a different time.
No, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways.
Okay,
I have no questions.
All right,
I'm gonna be quick about it.
okay,
Idiot domain.
Yes.
In the 56 years I lived in this town, and prior to that, I have not seen anything in this town come up with idiot domain, nothing. I understand that it's very possible it could happen, but you're talking large parcels of property where they're gonna come on in, if they're gonna, like the state of Connecticut wants to come in and build a new highway, that's where you're gonna get it from. You're gonna get it from the big dogs.
Oh, correct.
Not so much from the lower level. It's
a lower level, but-
That's a touchy subject.
But to.
I get it.
To reiterate, we
Right,
have a lot of plots of land that
If
I
you're
deal with.
looking at
understood, so,
Yeah.
okay,
To
so,
move this process along,
Yes,
I will
let's-
accept Mr. Knight's opinion, and we'll discuss it at a later time in more
Right.
depth. when-
Okay, so Bill, do you have any other suggestions or concepts?
As of right now.
As of right now.
Next time you will.
Okay, Jude.
Oh, okay, the two favorite, raising the amount of money for appropriations that we have to go to town meeting for. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's too low. And the other one, the other favorite is eliminating the ethics commission.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't seem to have any purpose.
All right, and just to kind of throw some of my ideas out here, I did have a, and I'm
I
gonna,
missed that, what did you say?
The what?
What did you
Yes.
The ethics, eliminating it.
Eliminate the ethics commission.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just to kind of get some of my concepts out there.
I didn't know.
So I just kind of figured out one thing that might be helpful, because I've got the legal background, so I'm kind of thinking one thing we might want to do, our work is have kind of like comments, and, here's what the commission was thinking when they wrote it. Because a lot of times what we run into, and the legislature already does this, if you go to the State Library and Archives, they'll say, here's the debates, here's the speeches we made on the floor, here's why we wrote this particular law the way we did. Because if there's any ambiguity, I think as everyone in this room knows, what's gonna happen is someone in the town's gonna go, I'd really like to do that, and then they'll pick up the phone, they'll call an attorney and say, make this work. They won't necessarily divulge all the facts, they won't hold the attorney's feet to the fire and say, could we get in hot water this way? What are the rights and remedies of all the other involved parties? So I think this work we're doing regards to the product, we should have some sort of, like an annotated version of the charter saying we were thinking A, B, C, and D when we proposed this. I know the one thing I would think Tom and I were talking about this last night. The length of the term, 6 years, that's pretty long. I think we should definitely look at that. I agree with the majority of Kevin's proposals, like to varying degrees. As far as the ethics commission, that certainly cost a lot of money over the years.
But did it benefit us?
And I agree, like it seems to be sort of a happy feel-good type of thing, where what can the ethics commission do at the end of the day? Personally, I think if, we have an ethics commission, it should work a lot more like, say, jury duty was, where a complaint gets filed, and the town clerk will just draw from registered voters, say, you, and you, you're the ethics jury, and this is how we're gonna deal with it. Because I think if we have an ethics commission, at least if we had more of a random process, more people might, trust that it would have some legitimacy to it.
I mean, teeth.
Yeah, and teeth. So, I think the way it's been going now with ethics complaints, it seems one concern I do have is the process just seems like it's rife for abuse. Like, the example from 2013, that was just like the worst way that could have ended up. I know the subject of the complaint had to pay for her own lawyer, the lawyer never got paid. We're in court for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it's something that definitely has to be revisited.
Agree with host agreements, regardless of the industry. That is one thing I want to talk about because it has come up many a town. And I don't want to see it here. If I want to see it here, I want to see it either go smoothly, yes or no. Yes or no, up or down. I don't like you said, dragging out for years for no reason other than to drag out. So, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Bill?
When the instance we got going on right now with the ZBA versus zoning, that's probably one of the most primed ones you're ever gonna get when it comes to boards going after boards, just because it's zoning. That one there, in my personal view, because I was ZBA chair, and I know what the ramifications of the things that were going on there, and what happens between zoning and zoning boards of appeals, I feel that could have got, in that instance, could have got nipped in the bud with Board of Selectmen, the previous Board of Selectmen. I really feel that a lot of the powers should fall on the Board of Selectmen, because that's the guy that's taking the heat. He's the guy running the town. For something to go before lawyers, if the board itself can't fix it, that's a major problem. But we should not be suing one upon the other. We should be able to work it out. I've sat in that office before, and you gotta be adults, you gotta go, hey. There was one incident, you know, we're gonna have to get lawyers involved because they were gonna come after us for something we did on the board, but we were dead set against it. I was not gonna give it to them. But we came up to a solution to the problem, nipped it in the bud, talked to the first selectman that was in office at the time. Next thing you know, 60 days, we're all done and over with. And then we came to a solution.
Right.
So all parties have to reach a solution. To get where that is right now, should have never even became that. It should have never even became that. And it should have been done.
Right, and just to mention, because I do have the draft language, so part of my proposal is the framework for the Board of Selectmen to basically say, you know, Board A and Board B have a dispute. Board of Selectmen will work it out, you know, they'll basically have a
And
due
you know,
process.
chances are the board will be able to work it out.
Right, and you know, and the proposed language that I have would basically make it where the Board of Selectmen decides it, and it's over, and everyone agrees, we're not gonna appeal, you know,
It's just-
that's it.
Certain things get spun out of control for reasons unknown to others because they think they know what's going on. But in that case, I do know, and I'm telling you, that could have been done. If I was the chairman, that would have been done. We would have been done and over with. That would never even happen. But it all depends who's leading the crew, who's the leader on the board. Would have been over with.
Yeah.
I would have sat down and said, this ain't happening. Because you're paying taxpayers money to go with lawyers. It's bad enough we do it with other parts of the education system. God, I hate to see how much money we spend on lawyers.
So that being said, should there be,
That's where I'm at with that.
should a proposal is if we have to do any kind of legal expenditure, should we put it to the citizen vote? Regardless of the position. I mean, we saw, let's just say we could not come to a meeting. Should that be brought to a special vote to the people?
No.
That's, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I
It's like
think,
putting it out on Facebook.
I think that, all right, so I think that's.
Spitball.
Well, okay, I know, I'm spitballing here too, but I'm gonna think like, you know, that's great from the plaintiff standpoint, but I think as we all know, sometimes we could be minding our own business and doing things right, and someone's like, I'm suing you anyway. You know, so what do you do in that situation? But it's something to think about. So that said, I think, you know, we've reached the end of our agenda here.
Got a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Just as a reminder, if you don't mind me adding to this point, just as a reminder, when we draft up the final drafts and we're putting it up to prepare it for the November edition to the election, we always have to have it go through our legal counsel, verified wording is appropriate. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong, I'm just saying
Right.
what you would propose would go through in front of an attorney. And if they said something doesn't sound right, they would tell us. So that's an appropriate way to do it. So.
Right, and one thing I do have to add on the note of attorneys is, I mean, I know we're kind of a conundrum, I think, as a town, because sometimes we go, okay, like just we tell the attorney, make this fit, you know, do the necessary, do whatever you have to, just schmooze it, you know, slam it through. But on the other hand, we are, you know, the town government. We are, everybody's a member of the town meeting. This is our government, and unfortunately, and I've seen this in litigation with municipalities, is eventually, I hate to say it, but the lawyers end up running the town. You know what I mean? Because I know with the town suing itself, part of the discussion was, well, they say we've got to process it this way, and I still hold by my position it was a well-intentioned mistake. It should have never gotten that far. You know, but it does reach a point where, you know, we're trading self-governance for like, you know, hey, attorney, tell us what we can and can't do. And that's part of the reason I did want to have some sort of annotated version of the charter, so some attorney can't come along and say, oh, but this is what they meant. I mean, we are limited by general statutes, yes, that is true. You know, and I was also thinking it would be great if we had just one preamble section, you know, that says, here's what the town government does, like just a generic description, maybe something to the effect of, and of course we could change or, you know, split the idea, that would just say, we're running a town per the Connecticut municipal statutes. I think there's already language in there that says that anyhow, so.
Well, a lot of this, I think everything is privy to the first selectman anyways. I mean, they take it
Right.
with you and let you know what's going on, where it is. So he knows whether or not, hey, this is getting out of control as a first selectman, second as a board. It's up to the board to say, enough's enough, we need to figure this
Yeah.
out. Call the chairs in, do what you gotta do, and say, we gotta come to a solution. So that's why I say a lot of it falls on the board of selectmen. a firm believer, a lot of the power should fall on the board of selectmen.
Yeah.
They're voted in for, that's why they wear the hats.
Yeah,
They run the town, they run their management, their upper management, and they run the whole.
yeah, and I think if we came up with language that would, basically,
I'm not trying to throw it on them, but in
Right.
my view, if I was sitting in there, I'm all for it. Bring it
oh,
on.
no, it's an unenviable position, but I think if there was a statute in the charter, or mechanism in the charter,
Absolutely.
where the board of selectmen would,
Needs to be able to-
resolve disputes, that we could avoid a lot of that. And I think that's the goal of everybody, is to, increase the trust and confidence in government.
Bottom line is, here, no matter what you do with this charter, you're never gonna please everybody, so okay.
Oh, of course.
We just gotta get enough to go the side and go, hey, and then compromise and come up with the right solutions
Right.
to the problems. Because overall, I mean, it ain't like the charter's totally blown out of the water, there's just some things on it that need to be fixed to get to it.
Right, and there's other things where I think most people could reasonably agree that, we go, that's the charter, or it isn't, and parts of it just become subjective.
Final note before you adjourn.
Sure.
If there's a way possible for you, as you're reviewing all of this, to look for small grammatical fixes, we can do that in a one-sentencer as
Yep.
part of the charter revision. Because I can tell you right now, on page 2, we don't always have a male town clerk.
What? What?
Really? We haven't.
What section is that?
Page 2, section
You
2.2,
have to find.
it says, will serve as town, in other words, the town clerk's not there, someone's gonna serve, but in his absence, an acting clerk. So it's a,
So I was just looking at 11,
there's a bunch of them.
page 19. I've always wondered about this, the context. When the context so requires the masculine gender shall include the feminine. So that's why you say select men. You don't need to say, and you had 3 women.
Yeah.
You're still,
I
according to
told you
this.
this when you wrote this in '84. So it's coming back to haunt you now, isn't it?
And then plural shall,
Yeah.
and this bothers me because it says select man's office up there instead of men. But I think that's the,
That's
you
it,
know,
yeah.
those are little
Yeah.
things. They don't bother me that
This was put
much.
up there in 1919.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Wagner painted that when he did the mural.
Earl Shine.
All right, so I think reasonably, we've got a good head start, and I'm looking forward to, for anybody watching this video, like, please, send us good ideas, send us bad ideas, send us all your ideas. Because then let's let the best ones come to the top. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
All in favor? I'm going to abstain. It looks like the majority has it. So,
7:31.
7:31.
Oh, wait, that's the first draft.
All right, thank you, everybody. Look forward to working with all of you, and,
We had this.